When we talk about migration in Massachusetts, we tend to focus on people moving here from other countries. But Massachusetts has seen more and more outward migration. That's according to a recent Boston Indicators report. So who is Massachusetts losing and why are they leaving? I'm joined now by one former Massachusetts resident who left the state last month. His name is Neil Whitteredge, along with the author of the report, Boston Indicators Research Associate Peter Ciurczak. Peter and Neil, thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
Great. So I'm going to start with you, Peter. What do we see as some main reasons why people are leaving?
Sure. People leave for any number of different reasons. Looking for work, trying to start a family in someplace more affordable. But one of the big reasons that we've seen both kind of in Massachusetts and Greater Boston is housing cost. Housing cost is much higher in Massachusetts than almost any other state in the country, only beaten at the median by California and Hawaii. That's a big reason there. We see people moving for work, trying to find opportunities in different sectors that are available elsewhere but may not have kind of those opportunities here. But housing, definitely one of the bigger ones.
Neil, is that your number one for why you moved?
Yes, definitely. My partner and I, we actually tried to move city to city within Massachusetts at first to find better or more affordable housing. And then we had simply figured it might be best for us to search further out where things are more affordable.
Yeah, well, Peter, I mean, I imagine it's also a certain age range that's able to be mobile, and also the fact that so many jobs are hybrid or remote.
Yeah, no, what we've seen in the data is that our largest kind of out group when we look at by age is 25 to 44-year-olds, probably like yourself, like myself, looking either recent graduates, people looking to start families, looking for work. A lot of them are more mobile, more renters. In Massachusetts right now, roughly 44% of people under 45 are renters, as compared to older folks, older than 45, 70%, 73% or so own their own homes. And when you have your own home, your nest egg, your mortgage, and things like that, it's a lot harder to kind of pick up shop and leave.
We were talking about this being a trend, so there is an increase. I imagine, are we at the height of that sort of increase?
We'll know in a year, I suppose.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Certainly towards the pandemic, we saw an increase in people leaving, either to other states like North Carolina or to more affordable parts of Massachusetts. We've seen, Massachusetts has been a domestic out-migration leader for quite a while, but the acceleration is really the thing that we're going to keep our eye on.
And that means Massachusetts sort of leads other places in terms of folks leaving?
We didn't check kind of as opposed to other states. But what we have been kind of over time, Massachusetts has been losing more population through out-migration and domestic out-migration than gaining from in-migration from other states. You don't see a lot of people coming from North Carolina to Massachusetts, say. Not to the same extent you see people leaving the state.
Neil, I want to ask you, did you think about any other sort of consequence or benefit to moving other than cost? Did you think about, okay, well, if we're moving here, it is less expensive, but maybe you'll have, fewer options for restaurants, or if you're really civically minded, the political climate might be something you agree with?
Yes. Definitely of concern. What I can say right now is it feels like healthcare is a bit less accessible here in North Carolina, and that could just be me not knowing the lay of the land. And politics was of concern, especially with some of the state races happening right now. So far, though, I would say, simply in terms of quality of life or, day-to-day living at the moment, it's obviously early, but we feel pretty good right now in general.
Yeah, I mean, tell me about the difference between when you lived in sort of the greater Boston area versus where you are now.
Yeah, well, so my partner and I, we both worked 2 jobs, and didn't have much space for, enjoying each other's company outside of the home. And it, with student loans, with everything that we had to consider cost-wise, if we wanted to start a family, if we wanted to own a home, the way mortgage rates were and everything in the city we're in, or state, it just seems very difficult to have an enjoyable life moving forward, to be honest.
Yeah, you definitely have less money to do things and things like that.
Right.
We talked a little bit about in terms of the income that folks actually earn that are moving out of state. We have a couple of graphs here showing that more middle and high income residents are leaving the state rather than low income residents. Is that just because they have sort of the money to move?
Well, we'd have to ask them.
Okay.
I think. But it does help to have the resources to actually invest in a job search elsewhere, or if you've already got one that allows you to work remotely, that certainly helps. Often housing remains the big crunch here. If you can't find a home, either when you have a middle income or when you have a high income, and there's some evidence to suggest that in Massachusetts that is the case, especially when it comes to new builds, you really do have to expand your search in order to kind of find an opportunity to set up roots and start a family if you're so inclined. We see a divergence, especially around 2017, between low-income populations as well. And, we don't have survey data to tell us why people might be staying here. But one thing we do know is that the Urban Institute, which is a research institution in D.C., has found Massachusetts spends a good deal on social supports and other things of that nature, which really do make living here, especially at a very low income, a little more manageable than it can be in many other states.
So what ends up being sort of the consequences of all of this? I mean, when you have this population of 25 to 40, 44-year-olds gone, I mean, that's a significant portion of the workforce.
It is, yeah. One of my colleagues at UMass Donahue mentioned that this is our future workforce. These are people who are going to be going into the workforce, kind of supporting our population as it gets older, things of that nature. And if they're not here to do those jobs, that's going to have ramifications down the line. I'm not a workforce economist or labor economist, but I can tell you if you're not in the state, it's going to be difficult to perform care work, to perform those kinds of really person-to-person interactions that a lot of our older citizenry really relies upon. I mean, they're not going to be there. Is
there sort of I imagine when you see a report like this, there's something of a call to action to either state legislators or, heck, even folks who build homes about, in terms of how we keep this, what seems to be a vital part of our population here in Massachusetts.
Yeah, it's not something we've kind of really worked on at Indicators. We're not like a policy think tank, like what is going to do this or what is going to do that. But I can say, anything that can bring down the cost of housing, that's really a good place to start. $612 is the median price of a house in Massachusetts in 2022. There are 2 states that are higher in cost than that.
$612,000, right?
Yeah, 2022.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's very expensive.
Yeah.
So.
And older folks are holding on to their homes as well, I imagine, so then that affects the housing stock,
And they're facing a lot of the same problems younger buyers are facing.
That's
like
right.
if they want to downsize, they also have to deal with higher mortgage prices. They also have to deal with higher cost housing. And in many cases, they're on fixed incomes. And that just makes everything harder for everyone.
Yeah. Neil, as you think about your future, do you think you'll stay in North Carolina, or is it a place just sort of to pay off your school loans and sort of enjoy your partner a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's to be determined for sure. Right now seems like a great opportunity to, at the very least, catch up on some things, like student loans, any sort of debt that we have, and maybe, save money to purchase a home in Massachusetts one day. But, if things continue this way, we might need to stay a little longer than we want or anticipated. But I don't know. It kind of it makes you think, where is this going to end, and how is it going to stop? Because if I could just, people where we moved to in Charlotte are moving out as well. So there's sort of this ripple effect where, everybody's moving out from where they've been living their entire lives, simply to have a better quality of life. And of course, people who have the least will end up suffering the most from all of this. So it's just very interesting to think of where is this all gonna end up.
That's right. Neil, Peter, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.